Good evening, and welcome to SPORLITIKS, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna at 8 o'clock, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd. Tonight, we've got a lot of big stories for you. Roe versus Wade, a plan by justices of the Supreme Court to overturn it is made public with a confirmation of those plans by a Supreme Court justice. NASCAR at Dover with Stephen. Ron DeSantis says ending Disney's self-governing status will be a process. What do you think Disney might do? The NBA playoffs 2022, without Joel Embiid, the Philadelphia 76ers lost Game 1 to the Miami Heat. Title 42, our DHS secretary grilled on ending it in preparation for an immigrant influx. It comes as a federal judge paused the rollback of the CDC restriction. The NFL draft. How did your team do? As we discuss draft grades and favorites from all 32 teams. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi makes an unannounced trip to Kiev, becoming the highest-ranking U.S. official to begin to meet with Zelensky since the war began. Russia releases U.S. Marine veteran Trevor Reed as part of a prisoner exchange as Russian President Putin vows lightning-fast response to any country that interferes with the Russian-Ukraine fight. The COVID-19 subvariant Omicron lives to die another day. That and more. First up, Stephen, let's talk about the first thing we're going to do is your NASCAR. We'll play the clip, and then I want you to talk about it.
One lap to One lap to go. One lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. For Chase Elliott to become the fourth and final Hendrick driver to visit victory lane this season.
Was fastest in practice. Once that 9 car got in the lead, proved to be the fastest in the race as well.
Kyle Busch led the most laps today, 103. But Chase Elliott and his Hendrick Motorsports Camaro going to lead the last one.
Yeah, boys. Caution's out. Checker flag.
Caution checker Martin Truex.
So tells
Comes
me
to grief on the last lap.
him and Chastain. I want to see a replay on this, but I'm telling you, went for it.
Digging it today.
All right, Stephen, what was that about? I can't hear you. All right, your sound's back on.
All right, it sounds good now. It was a race that was a total disappointment on every aspect. It was a great race. It was great for Chase Elliott to win the race. He's the fan favorite, and it was great. And it was very interesting. Problem was it was 78 laps the first day because of rain, and then they postponed it to the next day at noon. And I have, of course, on Monday, most people work. I recorded it and then rushed back to see it. And the last, 20 some laps of the race didn't get recorded. So that's a real disappointment. That's why weather affects this game so much. Like you can have a football game, you can have baseball games, you can have a lot of sports, and it doesn't matter. But sometimes racing, it messes it up. And then I don't know how you fix that, but it's still. It was still really a good race, but it was disappointing that I didn't get to see the end. But next week is Darlington, which is in South Carolina. And if anybody has a chance to go, I would highly recommend it. It's one of the best tracks.
So who won?
Chase Elliott, number 9.
Oh, Chase Elliott. And wasn't there some sort of fight or something going on with Chase Martin Truex or someone?
Well, you know what happened was I missed the last 20 laps.
Oh, and that's probably when it happened.
That's probably when it happened. Yeah, but
Okay.
I hadn't seen that, and I had not heard anything about it. So it must not have been too big.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the Flyers have fired their head coach. Well, he was an interim head coach, but he they did not invite him back to be the full-time head coach for the Flyers. Kind of disappointing. You know, I'm a Flyers fan. Mike Yao, he replaced head coach Alan Vigneault. Did I pronounce his name right? Anywho, so he wasn't picked to return back as the Flyers head coach. I'm sure they'll be looking for another head coach, as tonight the Phillies play in Philadelphia, one of their early games. What's going on with the Washington Nationals? Do you know, Steven?
I don't know. I think they're about fair to middle this year. I haven't been keen up with hockey because I've been more into the NBA. You know, you don't have so much time for sports. I've gotten to the NBA a lot this year, so I haven't been into hockey that much, and I really don't know. But are the Flyers, are they in the playoffs? Have the playoffs started yet?
They weren't in the playoffs. They didn't do that great this season. They're going to look for another head coach.
Right.
You know, and I think they did a 36-7 record. He did that as an interim coach, according to the PhiladelphiaInquirer.com article printed today by Olivia Rayner. They said they praise him for his efforts despite the team's lack of success this season. But now they're looking for someone to take us to drink out of that big, big, delicious cup.
Well, good luck.
So, I want to talk a little bit about this. Watch this.
U.S. Marine Trevor Reed is back in Texas tonight after his surprise release from a Russian prison camp, part of a secretive high-level prisoner swap. Reed touching down at a U.S. military facility in San Antonio, where he's getting medical care. But his release now raising questions about other Americans imprisoned in Russia, including a WNBA star and another former Marine who asked, "Why was I left behind?" Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos in San Antonio.
Trevor Reed arriving back on U.S. soil. His parents there to greet him at Joint Base San Antonio in Texas. His mother Paula tweeting, "It's been a very exciting day for the Reed family." Congressman August Pfluger also on hand, posting these pictures to Twitter.
Did he seem excited? Did he seem anxious? Kind of describe that.
Well, it's a long journey, so he was obviously very fatigued. His spirit is incredible. He's a survivor. He's a fighter, and there's obviously health concerns with him.
Reed held by the Russians for 3 years, his parents watching the dramatic prisoner swap that set him free, describing the moment to David Muir.
He looked horrible. He looked like he could hardly walk. He looked like he'd been walking shackled. In fact, when we both saw that video this morning, first time we started crying.
With their son back home, Reed's family hoping to draw attention to other Americans held in Putin's Russia. WNBA star and Olympic gold medalist Brittany Griner detained since February for allegedly having hashish oil in her suitcase. Her wife, Cheryl, posted on Instagram, "My heart is overflowing with joy for the Reed family. I know the pain of having your loved one detained in a foreign country. That level of pain is constant." Another American, former Marine Paul Whelan, has been in Russian custody since 2018, accused of being a spy, which he has denied. Whelan now asking his brother, "Why was I left behind? Why hasn't more been done to secure my release?"
We will continue to do everything possible to bring Paul Whelan home. The president is focused on that, and we would say to him, we are going to continue to do everything possible to bring you home.
Trevor Reed is expected to spend some time here at this hospital. His family tells me he has a long road to recovery, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Whit.
Good to see him back, but we know the work continues for those other Americans still in Russia. Stephanie, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Okay, Cousin Todd, I'll start with you. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Trevor Reed as he continues his journey to better health. But, you know, I brought this up now because they talked about Brittany Griner, the American WNBA star and United States gold medalist. How do we use Trevor Reed's example how does the United States use it to get Brittany and the other detainees out of Russia? Are we going to be able to do that, or is it too late? We're going to wait another, 10 years?
I don't know. I think her chances are less now because they let him go. Meaning, we gave you one, now give us one. And they think, I think they're going to want some criminal released before they allow her to come home, which go ahead.
Well, they did. When they did the prisoner swap for Trevor
Right.
Reed, they released a Russian person who was accused of trafficking drugs. So I'm sure there's probably another one that's accused of trafficking drugs. Why don't we just use all of them to swap out and get our Americans back?
They're not going to do that so quickly. And plus, they're embroiled in this war. They're not going to do that. They're going to use her as a pawn at some later date. And I don't think she had hashish oil anyway. I think that was a ruse.
Keith?
You gotta hit your button, Keith.
I would rather her have hashish oil than the actual marijuana plant, because then she would not be accused of smoking it. I mean, she would just the oil. What's the oil is harmless. I mean, what's wrong with the oil? I don't know.
No,
I don't smoke any of this stuff, but I'm just saying, it's not like she was smoking it or putting it into her. I don't know. It's I don't know about that stuff, but I can just say that it seems the oil would be less, would be harmless.
The oil has nothing to do with it. It was a trumped up charge.
Well, that's my point. Even if it were true, I'm just saying, even if it were true, okay? So you might be right. Maybe it was a trumped up charge, okay? But even if it were true, what's wrong with the oil? Come on.
Right.
Well, it's not about that. The question was about us,
how is she getting?
How are we going to bring her home?
Oh,
Yeah.
I have.
Swap her.
I have no idea.
Russians that have been convicted of crimes here in the United States. That was the question.
Well,
Yeah,
they reject the great negotiator, who is Trump. He's been the best negotiator that we've ever had. So, you know.
Say
How many
what
people
now?
did he get out?
Well, Trump is. That's not the question. How many people
That's the
did
question.
Okay, but nobody
He
was
said
even.
he was the best negotiator, so I want to
he
hear how
was.
many people he got out since he was the best negotiator.
Well, nobody was actually imprisoned
Yeah,
because of him.
Trevor was.
Okay, yeah, he was, but Trump. I guess Trump didn't. I don't know why he didn't get him out, but I know that he was a great negotiator when it came to
Stephen,
deals.
Let me pull Stephen in this. Can you clarify? Maybe you can clarify what Keith was trying to say, because I don't get it. You know, Trevor was there since 2017. The other former Marine, and we want to thank these Marines for their service and loyalty to our country. The other former Marine was detained and is still there during Trump's presidency. And as Keith said, according to Keith, Trump is a great negotiator. How come Trump didn't negotiate for those two to be released?
because Russia and Putin are in a much different place right now. They're fighting a war. They're doing something that nobody actually really thought was going to happen. So he's in a really precarious position where he can try to make deals with people. He's got to do something to get from underneath what seemingly everybody thinks is a quagmire over in Russia. But the thing, did you see the man has been tortured? He's in really bad health. He couldn't be any better off. He could barely walk, and they made him wear a mask. I mean, really, I don't understand that. But another
What do you mean
thing
they made him wear a mask?
That's what he got. That's what he got from that picture.
He's got to wear a mask. He's been tortured every day for years.
Yeah,
put a
Steven.
torturous mask on him that
Good
everybody
point.
knows at this point you don't have to wear a mask. But it's old school, and I think Keith can understand this because Cousin Todd's so
What's
young.
old school? Wearing a mask?
No. What I'm going to say next is old school. What I'm going to say next is when there's a woman somewhere and she's kept a prisoner, no matter how long the man's been there, an old school way of thinking is she should be let out first because she's a female. And
gosh.
as I said, Todd, it's old school. We try to protect our women, and
No, ma'am.
that
No,
goes back
ma'am.
to like chivalry and
No,
stuff like that.
ma'am.
That's why you don't agree?
No,
I
ma'am.
don't get what you're talking about, and I don't understand what that has to do with Trump
What
They
I'm
don't
saying
understand,
is,
Steve.
with
I believe
Putin.
you're saying,
I want to stay on the point.
Yeah,
Trump,
you're
he
saying,
said
how did
Trump
she
was
get
the
out?
great No, I said Keith said Trump was the great negotiator. If
Right.
that is true,
Which is not.
If so, according to Keith, if so, then why are those people still there when they were held captive during Trump's presidency?
Because I answered that. I said because Putin is in a much different position now than he was when Trump was in office, because Putin wasn't neck deep in a war. So he's got a lot of issues, and he wants to try to do things to make him appear like he's willing to work with people, because he could be like believing that he's just doing the most horrible job in the world. And a lot of people believe this invasion of Ukraine has been a disaster for Russia, and maybe he's feeling that way. And that's a different Russia now than it was when Trump was in. You have to admit that, right? Everybody understands this, right? They're at war. So he may be more for negotiations, because
Trump, I
everybody
mean,
believes he's been losing the war. Yeah, Trump kept things right. I don't know how he did it.
Putin has been
a
at
deal
war
maker.
over
He
and
is a
over again. Remember
funky deal maker, and
Afghanistan?
everybody on the show knows this. He makes deals that's unbelievable. He really does really well. Like, that's one thing he can do well.
Where are you guys getting this from? And I don't understand where you and Keith are getting this from when you haven't given us one
The
reason.
dark web.
He wouldn't be
Well,
where
you
he
haven't
is
given
now
us
if he
one
wasn't a
reason
good
he
deal
did not
maker.
negotiate the release of Trevor or
He didn't
the
have
other
the leverage
or the
to do
other.
that then. They
Why
have the
not?
leverage.
They still have other Russian, I'm sure, prisoners or spies that they want back.
Maybe there would be more to come.
Maybe they weren't thinking
No,
about
we're
it.
talking about when Trump was president, because you said Trump is the great negotiator.
Right.
He is. He is.
He had no leverage. He had no leverage to get those prisoners in, because they couldn't
confused.
use them then.
You're going to
use that
be
prisoner
confused.
now. They had to use that prisoner now.
They're never going to say how that's true. Listen,
I just
Stacy.
did.
Stacy,
You heard
these
me, Keith.
people think Donald Trump won the election. They will never tell you how or why he won the election.
When you
They will
realize
just
that he did, you're going to owe us an apology.
They'll just continue to say Trump won. It was fraud. But
Okay,
how
that's
do you
true.
figure that, Stephen and Keith? Trump
He
said
won.
so. And
Well,
so
the movie,
never
the
mind.
Yeah,
docu-
get your popcorn ready. Get your popcorn
Never
ready, Todd.
mind. Never
Yeah, go to
mind
see.
the 62 courts that said there's no evidence of fraud.
Okay. Yeah,
Never mind
2,000
the
mules.
attorney general saying there was no fraud.
Right.
This is a
2,000
They were all in
handpicked.
it, Cousin Todd. They were all in it. They were all
2,000 mules.
and all that
2,000
mules.
mules.
They were all in on it.
Go see it.
We're
Go
mad
see
at
the
the
movie.
Republicans as well, not just Democrats that did this. There was Republicans that went along with it because they're on the take. Do you understand being on the take, Todd?
No, ma'am.
Well, we have a lot of Republicans that are on the take, and we know who they are, and they're not going to be there much longer.
They're everybody except Donald Trump and all of his flunkies and cronies, correct?
So I'm going to move on. Let's move on. So according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a Confederate heritage group, the 200 members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans gathered at Stone Mountain on Saturday for an observation of Confederate Memorial Day, despite calls for the state-owned park to shut them down. Instead, a little more than 100 counter-protesters descended down the wide lawn in front of the mountain's gigantic bas-relief carving of Confederate leaders, shouting and jeering, forcing the SCV speakers to struggle to be heard over the noise. The Confederate rally has been a target of controversy since the Stone Mountain Memorial Association approved the SCV's permit application in March. The mountain and surrounding park are enshrined in state law as a memorial to the failed Confederacy, despite having no direct connection to to the Civil War. Nothing historic with regard to the Civil War happened at this park, Gerald Griggs, Atlanta attorney and president of the Georgia branch of the NAACP, said. So there's no need to memorialize traitors to the American democracy. Stone Mountain's connection to white supremacy and the defense of racial segregation is more direct. The Ku Klux Klan was reborn at the top of the world's largest granite monolith in 1915, and the Klan held regular cross burnings there for decades. It has also become a flashpoint in the fight over the removal of Confederate monuments and the display of the Confederate battle flag. Why are we still in 2022, Cousin Todd, having this type of argument and between the Confederate, those who call themselves Sons of the Confederate, and those are the protesters?
Well, because this is America built on racism. And people don't know that the Confederate flag are people that are traitors to their own country. And to celebrate a traitor's flag, it's unthinkable. Yet they do it.
But don't
America
they,
first.
But don't they have the right? You know, if they have beliefs, like different groups in the United States may have certain beliefs and certain things. Don't they have the right to march if they feel like it and talk about how proud they are of these people?
Yes, they can do that. And they're going to have opposition.
Keith?
Keith was pointing to his ear. Can you hear me,
Keith?
Keith? Okay. He thinks he's on mute or something.
He's not on mute.
Let me just go on.
And then we'll bring Stephen in until we hear Keith.
These people,
Keith,
they can march. They can march. That's fine. But they should recognize what they're doing is supporting traitors.
So, Stephen, we have this clash between this Confederate heritage group and people who really feel as though they're spreading hate by doing this. The thing is, how in 2022, how can this happen? I mean, why can't people just allow them to,
They are allowed.
Instead of clashing with people who were saying, don't do this?
I think 50, 100 years ago, people were doing things and using it to represent what they wanted to represent at the time. I just look at it as art. I'd rather leave just nature alone, but just because now it's an piece of art that took us so long and it took such skilled people or a person to do it. I like the art of it, and I don't have the same emotions, Cousin Todd, that you do, and they're your emotions. I don't have that. I just look at it like art, not like anything that's trying to hurt anybody, because for the last 50, 60, 70, how many years, 40 years, I don't know what of the barometers, everybody's been trying to work towards the same goal. And if just looking at this shouldn't if it's not people, standing there burning crosses and stuff, it's just a piece of art. If it's not anything going on nefarious, if it's just a work of art that we might find objectable. There might be art that you find objectable, but that was 1,000
You
years
find a
ago.
Confederate flag a piece of art?
In the side of a mountain, yes.
Okay.
The carving itself, that's an artist that did that. I appreciate the art of it. So to me, if people aren't saying we hate people and they're waving their signs in front of it now, then it's just a piece of art that it really is not hurting anybody at this point.
All right.
I don't think you're that naive. You know what that flag represents.
I think,
and that was probably a bigot that carved it into the rocks.
I don't know. That was a talent right there. If somebody didn't do that at that scale,
Some bigots are talented.
Huh?
Some bigots are talented.
And there could be bigots that do all kinds of things from all kinds of backgrounds. It doesn't matter at this point what they were then. It matters that you can look at it and appreciate the art. And then if it makes you an emotional way, then you deal with that emotion yourself like an adult.
I guess he's saying you're not an adult, Cousin Todd.
I put that.
Jim McGovern from Massachusetts. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for reminding me.
President,
Hi
good
again.
to see you again.
Yes.
Yes.
You're welcome. Hi, Mr. President. Jason Crow from Colorado. Nice to meet you.
Adam Schiff from California.
You're very welcome.
Honored to meet you.
But we didn't think.
Суверенитет и территориальную целостность.
We believe that we are visiting you to say thank you for your fight for freedom, that we are on a frontier of freedom, and that your fight is a fight for everyone. And so our commitment is to be there for you until the fight is done.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Where's Keith? Are we on?
Okay, Stacy.
Okay, Keith, are you back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Keith, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that was a surprise visit by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. She actually went to Kyiv and met with a delegation and the current president. You want to comment? I know you don't like international news, but do you want to comment on the importance of her visit there and what she said, if you heard? If not, let Stephen go and then Keith. I mean, then Todd.
I'll let Stephen and Todd go because I didn't get a chance to hear all of it.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
Stephen.
I think it took a lot of guts for her to go. I don't know if it's necessary for someone that high up in our government to go. I see you talking, Stacy, but I can't hear you. Well, we lost.
Go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I think it took a lot of guts. I don't think we need to go. I don't think anybody that high needs to go, but she did. But it does send a message that we are serious, and we may take this to a real war that none of us really want. But I think that's a signal that she's trying to give, and the Democrat Party's trying to give, that we're ready to go now, and we're ready to put people out there, and we have 100,000 people standing on the borderlines ready to go. It's something, and I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's been planned from the beginning, and I think they've wanted this war to come around.
What does that mean? It's been planned from the beginning. Who planned
It's been planned from the beginning. Well, you could tell that
Who planned it?
Biden was giving up the goose constantly, saying, "Well, if Russia goes in there a little bit, we're not going to do anything." He gave them the go ahead from the beginning. He gave them the go ahead. And let them know that he was cool. Like he let them get their pipeline back together when he discontinued ours. That let him know that he was going to have plenty of money to be able to finance this war in the Ukraine. The United States helped this happen. We helped this.
Can you tell me who planned this, just step by step? Who planned this? Give me the name of the person.
Probably whoever's running the government right now. Maybe a former president.
Donald Trump?
No.
A former president?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to move on.
Tell him who it is.
I'm going to move on.
Tell him who it is, Keith.
No, thank you, ma'am.
Obama.
Of course he would say that, and of course Keith would agree with that because Keith hates his mother.
No, he doesn't.
So,
Keith
nevertheless,
knows what the truth is. Keith loves the truth, and when you love the truth, you're never wrong.
Does he? Do you know this kind of nonsense you can only find on the dark web? Stay off the dark web.
This is not on the dark web. It's all about love.
This is so crazy that you would even repeat that sick stuff. Oh, the black president did it. He wanted to.
We don't care if he's black. George W. Bush was whiter than white, and we don't like him either.
Okay, I'm going to move on.
All right, I would if I was you.
Nancy Pelosi went over there, and that was a good thing.
Yeah.
To show that Americans are supporting. I don't know what's being said.
I didn't say nothing.
Okay. America is supporting the country. And so that was, and you said they don't, somebody that high ranking. Yeah, they did. They needed that. because this sends a clear message to Putin that we're not on his side. And you need that.
He should know that by now, because we've been sending him a lot of weapons. It's a proxy war. We're in the proxy war against Russia right now. He knows we've been doing this the whole time. We shouldn't announce it.
Yeah, one thing I will say about all this, Stacey, is that it's gonna plunge us into a great recession. It's gonna help us, get into a worse recession, because we are spending money by the billions and trillions, and that
billions,
money,
not trillions.
Oh
not
yeah,
trillions.
we're already in the trillions.
Okay, let me say this, Keith.
Yeah.
You're double talking. Before you said we should war with them. We should go to war. And
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, what I said was that Putin should be taken out. Whoever did it. Remember when I said that NATO was no good because NATO is doing nothing? And that was the purpose of NATO. I didn't say the United States should do it, but I said someone should do it. And NATO was supposedly
NATO cannot beat Russia.
The security force.
NATO can't beat Russia.
So all the more reason NATO is no good. NATO is just weak. We don't need NATO. So I'm saying
Ukraine. Okay. So if you're weak, we don't need you. We don't want you. So
no,
you don't
I didn't
make
say
any
that.
sense
I said
at all.
Because NATO is weak, we shouldn't have to be holding up NATO and keeping them, insignificant. That's what. Because
NATO helped us fight in a war.
NATO, we don't need NATO. What war did they help us in? We don't need NATO.
Look. You didn't know
we
that?
We can be independent.
That means you weren't. That's not on the dark web then.
Which war are you talking about?
We were in Afghanistan. Do you remember that?
Right.
Yay. We were. Remember 9/11?
Right.
How much of them compared to us, percentage wise?
Oh. So now we're going to how many? See, this is the dark web stuff.
No, because
NATO
they
helped
can't fight
us.
with us. They're nothing.
NATO helped us. So therefore, we help NATO.
Nah,
this is what you do,
NATO can't do anything
throughout the world.
All right. Well, let's try to keep our allies happy no matter what we do, because we all have to go against China and Russia and Iran. So
do you like China and Russia? Do you want to support them?
What? I said they're our enemies.
So we're helping defeat them.
Right, I'm saying let's keep our allies. Let's keep everybody tight. I'm agreeing. We got to do
well,
what we can.
No. You're not agreeing. He
but
just said throw out NATO because they're weak. That's what your boyfriend just said.
No, I'm not
NATO.
saying dismantle anything. I'm saying make people more responsible in their own countries to be bigger than what they are, because this is a bigger fight.
Okay.
You're fighting the Chinese, the Russians, Iran, North Korea. And other countries.
Don't make any
sense.
Bottom
line
is a lot. That's a handful.
The bottom line is, just so I can be clear, so everybody understands. The bottom line. Hey, there he is, the champion. Hey, the bottom line is, guys, and I'm sure Aguna will disagree with me on this, but the bottom line is, United States.
I just got it.
Yeah, but you'll hear what I'm saying. You're going to disagree with it. The United States should be independent by ourselves. We dominated the world at one time, and we could have still dominated the world. Thank God, because we can be trusted with nuclear weapons and with all kinds of arsenal. We could be trusted. We've proven that over the years. So the United States doesn't need NATO. We don't need all of these, these allies, militarily speaking.
We do,
and we could be independent with our oil, our resources, and all of these things that we have. We could have been.
So you're not a capitalist. You're not a capitalist.
Oh,
then.
I'm very much a capitalist. I believe.
So but you're more of a populist. It sounds like more it's isolationist populism, whatever. What is this?
No.
So let me ask you something. So can the United States economy? First thing, the United States does dominate the world, right? We are the #1 economy in the world.
Okay.
The reserve reserve currency for the world is the dollar. So you're sitting here saying that we don't need NATO, we don't need all these things, but yet we rely on a global economy to sustain ourselves. I mean, the reason why we have such a high quality
we
of
cut
life is
back on our
because,
resources.
but no, we can't do that by ourselves. We have a global economy.
We have we feed the
So,
world in
okay, so listen to
California.
this. So here's the thing about NATO. The reason why we're part of NATO is not because they rule us, it's because we sell them. We have a military industrial complex, which we've gotten very rich off of, in which we're supplying the world arms. So part of that alliance, again, being a child or growing up in the 80s, you should know this, right? We are buying
He didn't grow up
influence.
in the 80s.
He grew
You
up
did
in the
well. Oh,
60s.
no, Keith grew up in the 60s. I'm sorry, Keith grew up in the 60s. Oh,
I grew up in the
70s.
70s. Yeah.
So you're used to a bad economy and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
In the
he's used to Jimmy
80s,
Carter.
we gained influence. But Jimmy Carter, at the end of the day, we gained influence through our strategic alliances. And not just about just the alliance itself, it's about, and alliances of economies. So sitting here saying we don't need the world, you sound ridiculous. First thing, we export our energy to the world. We export our technology to the world, and we import clothes and goods at a low cost because of these strategic alliances and because of the relationships. The U.S. State Department is just as important as the U.S. military because we have to influence
We
the
don't need the world. We don't need.
Okay,
We have.
all
We
right.
can
So we don't
produce
need the
everything
world.
we need. We can
Okay,
produce
so
everything we need
Keith,
here. All the energy.
what are you
all
wearing
the
right
food.
now that was made in America? What are you wearing right now that was made in America?
Well, that's man-made. That's not because we can't do it. That's because we refuse to do it. That's because of our
Because it's
leaders. Because of
expensive. Are
the
you saying you're a
Democrats.
capitalist
And
yet you're
it's
saying we
expensive
don't need the
because
world?
it's
Where do we get
expensive
our
because
goods
we
and stuff?
decided to do that. It's expensive because we decided to give them production of our resources. And
Why
that's
did we
why
do
it's
that? Why
expensive.
did we do that? Why did we do that? So
Because
you
the
can afford
mindset
it.
is
So you
anti-American.
can afford it.
No,
We're
that's
doing
wrong.
it so you can afford it.
Anti-American.
And
That is
as a
because
capitalist,
America
you have
has to go.
choices.
America has to go down. America
has to go down because we have a global economy?
Okay, let's move
That doesn't
on.
make any
Moving
sense.
on.
We're going to move on.
You can't, don't do it.
6 and change remaining until halftime. And they flood the zone for London. Drake London touchdown. Hello, how do you do?
From the 25, pressure off the edge. Anderson escapes, has a receiver wide open, and he hits him in stride. Kevin.
All right, NFL draft. Let's start with Steven. Steven, let's talk about how your Washington Commanders did in the draft, and then we'll go to Aguna because Aguna has his Eagles shirt on. So
Definitely.
I think overall, with the entire draft for the Washington team, it was probably an A- all the way around for everybody they got. They had the 11th pick, traded it to the Saints, got a 16, a 98, 144, and a 149, I think. But they didn't have a whole lot of picks. But what they did, they got the best at each position that they probably could get. They got a really nice running back coming around. They have a quarterback they got late that could probably be really, really, really good. And they got a receiver, little tiny receiver. I mean, this is a lot of fun. They got some Alabama guys, a couple Alabama guys. So this is going to be more interesting than I thought it was because I think Washington right now is maybe ranked about 12th or 13th. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty nice. And we got something that we haven't had in a while. So we do have a quarterback we would like to thank from y'all that was really good, and he could be really good for us because he has the talent to do it if he can bring it. And if we can maybe get the offensive line a little more fortified, he'll be a lot better off. So I'm excited. I think we're right up there with the Eagles and with the Cowboys. But we're behind. You're 11. I think we're like 12, 13, 14, something like that. So we're in the ballpark. The Washington team should make the playoffs. I do believe we do. The defense is going to come back around like they should play. I think that's going to help as well. I think it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, I like your draft. I mean, it was a safe draft, right? You got some pieces there, especially on both sides of the ball. Now, the wild card is going to be Wentz. I don't know if Wentz is, again, people question his ability as a leader in the locker room. That was his question. I mean, that's what Alshon Jeffries in Philadelphia was questioning him. And I heard what's his name, Sproles was also one of the veterans in the locker room that were questioning his leadership. But then he went to Indianapolis and really just, he flamed out against a Jacksonville team to go to the playoffs, and that kind of like tainted him there. So this is kind of like the last hurrah for him. So I think the draft, you guys added some key pieces to help him out, but then it's like his mental state. Like he never got out from under the shadow of Foles.
Yeah,
and so but he won't have that problem in Washington.
But I think the third time is a charm. This third team for him is going to be the charm for him. Or
Gotta
he's
be.
going to strike out and he'll be out of football forever. I'm hoping this is his charm and things can just fall right into place for him. And if he can stay healthy and he can get his head right, you never know. And I think he deserves this chance, and I think he may make the best out of it. I'm real hopeful.
Well, he
But I was
best
hopeful
to.
last year with Fitzgerald, remember?
Right. Yeah, that was
Yeah, it's this time of year. It's spring. We should go to the playoffs and win.
I hope you do.
It's
I hope
springtime.
you do. I hope you do. It's about
I
time
hope
for
y'all
the
do as well.
Washington Commanders to show up
I can't say it
so they
yet.
can command
I always think Commodore.
the field.
And I try to say Commanders, but it comes out
or
Commodore.
commies.
I just
It's
can't
the Washington commies. But see, you guys are going to do well because you guys need a new stadium. You got to get out of PG County, so they're going to make you guys, do well. And I hear that the Washington Commanders may move to Northern Virginia. I think because the thing is, DC doesn't want the Commanders in DC because I think there's no, they don't want to give the tax credits to the development to build a stadium because they can make so much money just having condos or whatever. So it's like they don't want to give up the tax credits to build a new Commander Stadium where RFK was. They rather redevelop that area. So
I wish
I'm all over to Northern
move
Virginia.
to the Midwest and have to keep the name Commanders or whatever.
So my question is,
it doesn't make a lot of sense here.
My question is, what is the Washington Commanders? They play in Maryland, they practice in Virginia. What part of them is DC?
Well, I mean, it's their heart. Their heart is DC. All their championships were won at RFK, so that's all DC. So it's like their history is DC.
Okay.
Back in the day during the strike years. But
all right, Aguna, let us see that shirt. Let us see that shirt.
There we go. Go Birds.
We can't
Birds.
see it. We can't see it. We can't see it.
Higher.
You can't see it.
We can't see it. Oh, Birds.
He
Yeah,
probably don't have
yeah.
anything on under there. Listen,
Oh, here goes Todd, man. Todd's going. Todd, he permed that beard up today, so he's gonna be on a roll. Go ahead, Todd. We're listening.
He put hairspray on.
Is that Moose?
Oh
Yeah,
my
man.
gosh!
Bed,
What is
Bath,
this?
and Beyond.
Stop it with all this personal attacks.
Okay, all right.
Let's
Sorry.
After
get to
you
no
just
place.
attacked Keith and you talked about his mother again, you really need to apologize for that. I was
Get
doing
out of
something
my
else.
face.
Apologize for saying like your mother, Keith. You've made that really. If someone was sensitive about that, they'd be really upset.
We need to patent and put it on a shirt. We need to put it on your shirt.
Apologize, cousin Todd.
Keith hates his mother. And put that on a shirt and you can sell it on a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to sign off on that.
I'm too manly to be offended by it, so it's okay, no problem.
Cousin Todd.
Pat
Just
yourself on the back.
put you hate your mother and everybody.
They're talking over me. We got to move on with the show. Maybe later.
Can I talk about the
apologize? Wait a minute. Apologize now, cousin Todd, so Aguna can talk.
Go ahead, Tommy. We're listening.
I'm bored.
Go ahead, Aguna.
So
Don't
let
worry,
me talk
Keith, I'll
about
get top.
the Philadelphia Eagles and what they did in the draft. And for the most part, all Eagles fans are happy about what happened in the draft, which is like the first time in the history of the whole franchise that Eagles fans aren't complaining. Only the most cynical ones are complaining, and those are the ones that always complain. But we did some major moves. We got Davis out of Georgia as a D tackle, and he's going to join a rotation with Fletcher Cox, Hamilton, and Hargrave, the gravedigger from South Carolina State University. And, we also went out and made a trade for A.J. Brown, who brings in our number one receiver. We signed him to an extension, $100 million contract. So now you have Smith from last year out of Alabama with Brown. And so that's going to be a formidable receiving core. And then they got some heavy hitters in the late rounds as well. In the third round, they got Nakobe Dean from the national championship, Georgia Bulldogs, right? So you got two Bulldogs, SEC guys. Both had first-round grades. I know Nakobe Dean dropped a little bit because they had some injury concerns with him, but he's a very smart and tactical football player, a little undersized, but at the end of the day, he was the number one projected linebacker in the draft, and we got him in the third round. So really a good core team. And if Jalen Hurts doesn't work out this year, we can always package the picks to 2 picks we have next year to get a franchise guy if we need to, or draft a guy.
Let me
I'm really
say
excited
this.
about the draft picks. And
Let me say this. I don't mean
go.
to cut you off, but I just wanted to say again, I'm bored.
So, Aguna,
yes.
Can you talk real briefly about what the LA Rams did in the draft, what the Atlanta Falcons did? Because we have an Atlanta audience base now. So what the Atlanta Falcons did in the draft, what the Rams did in the draft, and what...
I don't know what the Falcons... So with the Falcons, the Falcons took a quarterback. You say what?
I said Keith
Go ahead,
should do the
Steve.
LA Rams. That's his team. He's out in LA.
He doesn't know anything about football.
He still thinks Kaepernick is bringing the league. He's still like protesting Kaepernick and stuff.
Or is it the Chargers? Is it the Chargers that you like better? Who's your team, Keith? He doesn't have one.
We can't hear you.
I can't.
I don't follow any of it. I don't follow
I know.
sports
I'm just
at all
playing
that
with
much.
you.
Everything is so politicized. I have to stay focused on what I'm called to do.
It's got
I must stay on my
So we're gonna start with Atlanta Falcons, then the Rams, and then the Green Bay Packers.
And see, I don't know who the Rams. I don't know who either one of them. You gotta refresh my memory on that. I'm good. I'm not that good.
Atlanta Falcons, I think, are ranked 32nd right now. I think they're the worst team in the league because they lost.
They're the worst team in the league because they did draft a quarterback though, but I can't remember his name in order to.
Even after the draft, they're still 32nd.
Yeah, because they still haven't replaced their receiving core, and they still have some things on the offensive side of the ball that they need to improve on. And they have an early second year coach. So Atlanta, I don't think they made a big splash in the draft. I didn't hear about them trading back or anything like that, but they did get a quarterback who may challenge Mariota for the starting position down there. So that's positive for Atlanta.
There were no quarterbacks this year. How do you have a year that there's no quarterbacks? Isn't that
right? Yeah, and that's the thing.
Like this lately, I don't.
But the quarterbacks next year in the 2023 draft are supposed to be a lot better. That's why, I don't think a quarterback went until the very late rounds of the first round. I think there's one quarterback, and then there wasn't another one until like almost the third round.
Yeah,
so
it was way back.
It wasn't a quarterback heavy draft this year at all.
I've never seen it like that with quarterbacks. I've never seen it.
All right. And I know the Rams, and I cannot remember what the Rams did. Did they even have a first round pick this year? They traded so many of their picks for. I mean, they traded a lot of picks for Stafford. Yeah. The Rams are one of those teams that don't really draft. They kind of buy. They bought their championship. To be honest with you, this past. I mean, they went out and got Ramsey. They had Aaron Donald there. So they're definitely an LA type team, and I think they have to be because just like the Lakers, right? So LA is a big market. So you're going to see a lot of splash, and they got that multi-billion-dollar stadium out there.
Yeah.
Just had the Super Bowl. So it's like one of them things where, they had to get that market going. And again, I'm not really sure. I don't think they even had a first round pick. I thought they traded their picks.
So.
to Detroit, right? So yeah, the Rams are more like a free agency type franchise where they built through free agent, and they won. It did work. It worked for Tampa Bay the year before too. So
yeah.
Okay, so what about the Sixers losing the first game to Miami?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So so here's the thing. Embiid was out, and it's like I don't know. It's something about the Sixers. They're just cursed. They remind me of how the Eagles used to be before we kind of won that 2000, before we won the Super Bowl, right? We get close enough, and then something would always happen in the playoffs. So Embiid getting that concussion and his eye, beat up, knowing they were blowing out Toronto, by the way. He shouldn't even really been in the game. But Doc Rivers, this is why they pay him the big money. He needs to adjust. I mean, I think they had a good run last night. I mean, but the Heat were just too much for him. Embiid may be back by game 3. So all we need is one game in Miami, and it's a series. So, Doc Rivers talks as if, Harden and, some of the other guys, Maxey, these guys got to step up. They got to get their offensive rebounding down. They got to get to the line. It's one of those things where you saw it again in the Toronto series where these teams can just run them on the fast break. They can run them in the dirt. And Miami's that type of team that will do that to you if you don't get, you don't have good shooting, you don't get those offensive boards and things like that. So they came close. They took the lead late in the third, I believe, but then Miami just came back and just beat them down. So when Embiid gets back, it's going to be a different story, but you don't want to be down 2 games to Miami and then have that game 3 in which it's a must-win game for you because you don't want to give up one in Philly. So we can just sneak one in Miami and even the series, come back to Philly and get Embiid back. I think we can take them. If we would have had Embiid for game 1, I think we would be up 1-0 to be honest with you. But injuries are always unfortunate. But that's part of the game. So hopefully we can make it even up the series. But if we don't even up the series and it goes back to Philly and Embiid isn't 100% in game 3 and we lose that, it's a wrap. We'll probably get swept.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at a swept because I
sweat.
A swept. Because I think he should get a Purple Heart. It's gonna be a swept. It's gonna be a big swept. He should get a Purple Heart because he's continuously hurt. And I think if he comes back, he's gonna hurt something else.
Sweep.
Yeah, swept. It was a swept. Yeah, because he's I don't know what happened. If he could have stayed healthy, like you said, it's a little bit of being cursed. If he could have stayed healthy, I think y'all could have won it all because I had really big vibes on that y'all could win it because he was unbelievable. And that fact that he hurt his thumb and then he gets hurt again, it's not. It's just unbelievable.
But you got Harden in there. This is why you pay Harden the big bucks. You pay Harden. You traded for Harden. He's in the playoffs. Harden's supposed to dial it in and make something happen.
But
that's what it is.
A bit of a disappointment, don't you think?
Yeah, he's been. Well, we'll see. I mean, this is what these type of games are the games that he wants a max deal at the end of the season. These are the type of games where he needs to turn it around. If he can save the series, he'll get a max deal. But I mean, if it's a semifinal and out type thing, because I would love to see the Sixers versus Bucks in the Eastern Conference Final. A Sixers-Bucks series, would be phenomenal. I want to see the G-Man against Embiid.
He's an elite talent, and all he needs to do is show it right now, like you said. If you do, that'd be great. With just like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Because that was improbable. Maybe they should wear a dog mask or something like that.
Yeah, Lord, here we go. Let's seems so long ago.
Do you want to talk about anything else with the NBA playoffs before we move back to politics? Any other teams?
I hope the
Who cares? Todd can't even apologize to you. What do you care about whether or not Todd is bored?
The thing about sports are a unifying factor. They're competitive and they're not emotionally charged. So people like Todd and Keith is very aggressive. He's an angry old black man. He likes to rattle it up. And see, the thing about it is sports, we come together in kumbaya and we hug each other and we feel good about each other.
That's right. And these NBA playoffs, I'm hoping that the Flyers get at least 100 touchdowns.
We're pulling for that, man. Thanks,
Todd. You amaze us every week. You're getting better and better.
It sounds to me more like Todd is the angry man. I mean, you can only be offended if you take offense. You see, I take no offense, so I'm not offended.
Oh, good.
Nothing bothers me. And we'll take your word on that. We'll take your word on that, Keith.
As long as you don't put your hands on me.
Oh, believe me, I would never do that.
Thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
You're welcome.
Virtual hugs all around.
Can't speak for Steven now.
I'm prepared to defend
Hey,
myself.
Keith, we're spreading the love tonight.
Okay, according to CNN.com, article by Eric Levinson and Steve Cotorno, Ron DeSantis says, the governor of Florida, says ending Disney self-governing status will be a process. So what could happen next? Besides giving a whopping multi-million-dollar bill to the residents of Reedy Creek,
In terms of taxes.
in terms of taxes, what can happen next? So to give everyone a little, you want me to give them a little background, or do you want to, Aguna, since you lived in Orange County?
I am an Orange County resident. As a part of my,
Former.
I do.
Former.
Yeah, we'll say that. I don't want to get.
You don't want to get taxed
Steven,
twice.
I don't want to get Steven riled up over there since my kids are in public school, but or private school, excuse me. Yeah. So Orange. So here's the thing.
I'm just glad they're in school.
Yeah, I'm glad too. Thank God for the Commonwealth. Here's the thing. The Reedy Creek Agreement is in order to help Disney be self-governing. Why? Because Disney is a theme park. And so when you have safety measures and you have permitting, it's better for them to govern themselves versus me, who may live at the top part of the county and try to put in a permit for a sliding board. And I have to get behind this multi-million-dollar roller coaster that Disney's building because all of those permits have to be submitted through the same Orange County permitting office. So they created this own entity so Disney could self-govern. It doesn't mean that it's like a huge tax break. They collect their own property taxes and everything, but they're geared towards helping Disney function as a self-owned entity. It actually benefits the residents of Orange County because Disney is doing it. Not only because they can help, self-govern themselves and not muck up the permitting process for the rest of the county, but it also, they bring money, they bring billions of dollars to the local economy. So yes, you want to give them, and again, for those of us who believe in trickle-down economics or something, whatever, it's part of helping the economy in Florida grow. What DeSantis is doing is just smoke and mirrors. He knows it's not going anywhere. He's just trying to play for the cheap seats because not even his own Florida residents are in agreement that they should do this, especially because it's a freedom of speech issue. Why are we doing culture wars in a time in which we should be growing the economy and focusing on economic issues versus censorship and telling teachers what to say in the classroom and all these other things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things? Again, I'm a free market guy. I'm for corporate profits and helping the economy. But all of a sudden we have a governor, a so-called Republican governor, a populist conservative, whatever he wants to call himself these days, is trying to, beat up on corporate America. Since when did the Republicans start doing that?
Keith, you want to respond to that?
I have no idea what's the deal is over there. So I'm sure Aguna would know more than I do because if he lived there, he should know more about it.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't understand I don't understand. Maybe Aguna can explain. I don't quite understand the language that they're using. They're saying they're self-governing. Self-governing means that you govern your own corporation. Every corporation is self-governing to a certain extent. What is it that Disney had that other corporations didn't have? Okay, so what is it? What are the advantages? What are the privileges of self-government?
I just spoke about that. First and foremost is the permitting, right? So you have these multi-million-dollar rides at Disney. You have these multi-million-dollar roller coasters. You have all types of lights, effects. You got all kind of things that they do. All type of ordinances that have to be put in place for noises and things like that. And you don't want Orange County to absorb that responsibility if you have an entity like Disney that can self-govern itself and put those things in place. Because again, you do, the fact of the matter, there are safety and things like that they have to abide by because of Florida regulations and Florida statutes. So by the governor of Florida saying, hey, we're going to pull this agreement, you're just putting the burden on the other taxpayers. So you're increasing the taxes of the people of Orange County and ultimately the people of Florida, because all Disney will do is, because again, Disney's collecting all those taxes. It's not like they're doing this tax-free. they're collecting those taxes. It's just burdens will go on Orange County and the rest of the taxpayers in Florida, and that's just going to be passed on. And so,
but how are they passing it on? In what way are they passing it on?
Because the Florida residents are going to have to. They're going to have to. First thing, they're going to have to grow their agencies in order to accommodate. So now you go. Disney had their own permitting department that aligns with the regulations of Florida. That goes away, and Orange County has to either expand their department in order to accommodate that and collect those taxes. So they have to grow their staff, and if they have to grow their staff, they're going to increase taxes in order to do that, and they're going to have to accommodate that in their budget. So it's going to be passed on to the residents of Orange County, who, by the way, have to vote on whether or not they want to do that. So for whether DeSantis wants to pass a bill in Tallahassee to do this, it still goes to a vote of the residents in that district, not even Orange County in that district. And Disney has their employees there. So I don't know if Disney employees are going to vote for dissolving this particular district or agreement. I mean, it's only 50 of them, but they probably, you talk about stuffing a ballot, they're not going to vote this thing down. So it's all smoke and mirrors. He doesn't even have the power to do what he's trying to do.
So do you want to talk about, Oguna or Stephen, do you want to talk about what this will mean to the average person who has to take their kids or grandkids to Disney? How is this going to affect me if I got to take my kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews or classes or whoever to Disney?
Okay. Don't take them.
Why not? I mean, because they said, hey, don't say gay bill is bad, because they have an opinion, because they're using their freedom of speech.
No, because it costs $200 a person. But go ahead.
That's one reason not to take it.
Oh, that's the reason.
The corporation went completely rogue.
So because it's a capitalist society. Oh, because you have free choice? Don't take them because you have free choice.
Okay, I want you all to focus.
One at a time.
Go ahead.
And then focus on how, okay, Steve, Stephen, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the corporation went woke and decided they were going to go on the side of the far left and say.
What does that mean?
What does the left mean, or woke?
What does woke mean for Disney?
It means that Disney is going along with the
politically correct,
with the education of small children that is sexualized, that is not appropriate for their age. Disney is doing that, and so the governor said Disney shouldn't even voice anything about this. Shouldn't have a side. So he's going to take away something that comes up every year, and he's going to take away their kingdom.
So he's punishing them.
How come other places like Busch Gardens, King's Dominion, Six Flags, how come they don't have the same stuff that they have here at
they do. They have different types of it. It's not at the same level.
They don't have their own judges. They don't have their own lawyers. They don't have their own.
Because they're not as big.
They got everything.
They're not as big.
Everything in Disney World. They're in charge of everything.
Why don't you have the same tax write-offs as Donald Trump?
State within a state, and other places don't have that, and they shouldn't have that privilege.
But they don't bring the same amount of money.
Well, first of all, let's take that one at a time.
Because there's a lot of BS in that. There's a lot of BS in that statement, Stephen.
Right.
Let's unpack that. Let's unpack that BS.
Good man, Stephen. Good observation.
Okay, Stacey, control them. You said
Todd always wants me to control them when he wants to talk.
No, because they're just going
Keith
over
tries
top
his
of
positive reinforcement of Stephen every time he says ignorant stuff. That's his MO.
Yeah, don't encourage me, Keith.
Go ahead, cousin Todd.
No.
Cultivate the ignorance. Cultivate the ignorance, Keith.
The truth.
Disney is woke. Disney is
woke.
Go
ahead, Todd.
No. You go
We're
ahead.
not going to stop talking.
So we don't want Disney, who knows all about children, to comment about children, right? We don't, because they don't know anything about children.
They know a lot about children. They know more about children than they should.
All right, so I'm going to move on.
So here's the thing, Stacey. Let me just say this. Again, these culture wars. Because let's unpack what Stephen just said. Hey, you know what? Because it's the left, or because it's something I don't agree with that a corporation just said, that's a woke corporation, right? You're not saying that about the Halliburtons or anything like that. They're not woke. They're saying stuff I agree with, so we're not going to punish them for their free speech. But
What's
then
Halliburton?
you don't know what Halliburton is. You don't know
Keep
the Koch brothers.
Keep going. Keep going.
So here's the thing.
Keep going.
corporation, if you agree with Citizens United, which, all these different organizations have been stood up because corporations now have the same rights as individuals who have rights to freedom of speech. They can raise money to give to corporate donors, to give to corporate campaigns and things like that. But you don't think a corporation like Disney can listen to their employees and say, hey, you know what? We're not for censorship of issues that you're just raising that aren't issues just because you want to score political points. We think that's wrong to kind of censor teachers around certain issues or big government, whether federal or local, to try to censor or to try to police classrooms. Why not let the local school districts decide as to how to govern themselves or what's in the classroom? Don't let a governor who doesn't have any kids in that district decide what should be taught in schools like that. Let the parents decide it. The governor is sitting there trying to punish Disney, who employs people, who's bringing a lot of billions of dollars into the economy. Now it's going to trickle down. They're going to have to absorb that cost.
I'm
Why are you
bored.
doing that?
I'm bored.
No, that's not true. That's not true. What parent did you talk to in Florida? What parent did you talk to in Florida? I know friends in Florida. I used to live there, so I know people that say it's
responding as a result of the parents. He's responding
Who?
on behalf
No,
of the
that's not
parents.
true. That's not true. Who have you talked to in Florida, Keith? Who have you talked, Stephen? You know someone in Florida?
Our governor.
The
Who
governor is
in
responding.
Florida, Stephen, do you know that said that they agree with what the governor's saying? Who do you know in Florida?
I don't
I
know.
know someone in Orange County School District that said it's BS.
Same thing for their kids.
You know one
What?
person?
Okay, I got to move on.
Governor Youngkin in Virginia.
We're talking about Florida. I'm not talking about Youngkin. I'm talking about Florida.
Yeah, but that's why we have him, because the parents spoke up like
No. In Florida, they know that banning math textbooks has nothing to do with math. It has everything to do with DeSantis scoring political points because he can't do what he's trying to do. I mean, why are you banning math textbooks?
That's not true.
All right,
That
I'm
is
bored.
true.
We're going to move on.
And
We're
it
going to
makes
move
no
on.
logical sense.
With fears an already record migrant surge could soon rise, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas grilled on Capitol Hill.
We're losing our country down there. We need you to resign.
Congressman, I couldn't disagree with you more when you state that our nation's sovereignty is disintegrating.
The Biden administration facing bipartisan criticism over its decision to end a COVID border restriction called Title 42. U.S. officials tell NBC News 170,000 migrants are waiting in Mexico, planning to cross the border when Title 42 is scheduled to be lifted May 23rd. Mayorkas today acknowledging the surge.
With the Title 42 public health order set to be lifted, we expect migration levels to increase.
Earlier this week, a federal judge put a pause on lifting Title 42 before the 23rd. Mayorkas saying in preparation to lift it, the administration will send additional medical supplies and personnel to the border, speed up case processing, and crack down on cartels.
We have effectively managed an unprecedented number of non-citizens seeking to enter the United States.
But tonight, Republicans blaming President Biden's border policies. Last year, there was an all-time record of 1.7 million illegal border crossings. And just last month, 221,000 migrants crossed into the U.S., the highest monthly total ever recorded.
That I've never seen the border more broken. It is not under operational control. It is out of control.
Democrats remain deeply divided over the issue. Meanwhile, late tonight, that federal judge just ruled the administration cannot lift Title 42 for the next 14 days.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
Up. Keith, you're
Yes.
up. Title
Okay.
42. Title
Yes.
42.
Title 42 is a disaster.
Did you agree with the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas?
No,
was
well,
grilled.
yes, I do. I agree with him in the sense that we've got too many millions of people. Didn't you hear what it said? 1.7, and then thousands, hundreds of thousands of people coming over. These are unchecked people. These are people that are coming unchecked, unmasked, unvaccinated, and they're coming over. So if COVID is supposed to be so serious that the rest of us have to be vaccinated, why are they letting people who are not even a part of this country come in just at random the way they're doing it? It's I don't. This is why I don't trust the science of COVID that they're claiming is science, and that's why Stephen and I agree on that, because it's ridiculous. They don't even have to be tested for COVID. They're just coming over.
Cousin Todd, did they grill Secretary Mayorkas, and why are they making these changes?
Because white Republicans are sick. They pretend they own this country and they pretend they built this country. When they
on rock and roll.
Keith just said they did.
Yes.
You see how dumb and
ma'am.
ignorant
Whites
and
built the country. The industrial age was done by whites. The industrial era.
You see,
Laguna ought to know that.
Poor thing.
Don't listen to Benson over there. Go ahead and finish, Todd.
So, white people in America are foreigners. They're European. They came from someplace. You see, the natives were here before they got here. So just like these people are coming in, that's the way they came in. No different. So Stephen's people, they came from someplace else, not here. So Stephen, you are a foreigner. Sorry, Keith.
The natives were not here in every part of the United States.
Listen at this dum-dum. Poor thing.
Excuse my phone back there, but the natives were not in every part of the United States.
He's got to do this to make a point. He's cherry picking.
Yeah, because he wants you to think white people built this country.
The United States was wide open country. The United States was wide open
So
country.
who wants to explain Title 42? Because Todd, you made a comment, but you really didn't explain what Title 42 is doing.
Oh, Title 42 was put out by Donald Trump because at that time, we were in a pandemic.
Okay.
So Trump would say, we're not in a pandemic. It's a Democratic hoax. So you have to double talk in order to
doesn't make any sense. Donald Trump's not president.
Oh, wait. He came out with Title 42.
Yes. And now they want to do away with it. Now,
when we were in a pandemic.
Aren't we still in the pandemic, though?
We were in a pandemic.
But aren't we still in the pandemic?
No.
According to them?
Ma'am.
We didn't have the vaccination at the time.
No, ma'am. According to them, not to Stephen.
Who's them? Them. Stop the scapegoating stuff. Can we talk solutions for once? Can we talk solutions and stop grievances and complaints?
Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
So we were in a pandemic at that point. We are no longer in a pandemic. So you can't keep that Title 42 out there for other purposes. That was strictly.
So what was the point of the Title 42? And what does that have to do with immigration?
Out because of the pandemic. We didn't want anybody in here
their return based on
who wasn't tested and whatnot. So
All right. So now they're talking about lifting Title 42 so that people who want to enter the country and seek asylum can do so, correct?
Correct.
It ain't about seeking asylum. It's about getting into the country, period. And they're not
seeking asylum. That's the law, though. You can seek asylum. You can seek asylum in the United States.
That's a lie.
Doesn't matter, but can you not seek asylum in the United States? Yes or no? Can you seek asylum? I'm not talking about what their intentions are. Can you? Yes or no?
Make your point real quick, Aguna, so I can bring
the
Stephen
point
in.
is they can seek asylum. If they're asylum seekers, they can come in and they can ask for to be processed. That's part of the process. If you don't like it, this is what we are talking about on this show. There's a bunch of people here that like to grieve and talk and complain all the time about the administration and all this illegal immigration. You want to scapegoat things. How do you fix the problem? You fix a broken immigration system. They can come in and seek asylum. That's their right to do so. This is what the United States has always had that in place, right?
Okay.
You're saying that their intention is to seek asylum but not show up at the court date or to take advantage of the system. Then fix the system. What we don't do on this show, or what they don't do in government, is try to fix the system. These are migrant workers. So they want to come here, work, make money, and go back to their place of origin. So you put a system in place for them to do that. Again, we got the #1 economy in the world. Instead of airing grievances and trying to narrate different political narratives in order to boost your own ego, think about solutions. If they want to come here and work jobs that Americans don't want to work and then go back to their country, if we need to go to their countries and fix their broken democracies or whatever they have down there in South America, they have basically gangs running the country. That's why they're coming here to begin with.
Okay, Gunnar, I got to get
So
Stephen in here.
that's the thing.
So, Stephen,
Solve the problem. Don't complain. Stop complaining. Solve something for a change.
So, Stephen, during the pandemic, in the height of the pandemic, it was the migrant workers who were keeping Americans afloat by making it so that they were working at the places that process meats. They were picking the fruits and vegetables for us. They were still out there working hard. So don't they deserve to be able to come into the United States if they want to?
Yes, legally.
Well, that's what the Secretary Department of Homeland Security is saying. He said that it's a legal pathway to citizenship.
We can't, when we're going to have 35,000 coming through each day, you can't process this many people. It's an invasion of our southern border. We're in huge trouble right now. And there's people not just coming from South America or Mexico, Laguna. They're coming from all over the world. And a lot of them are terrorists. Who cares? They come to
Are they coming from England? Where are they coming from?
They're coming from all over the world. Yeah, that's a Broadway.
What quiet places are they coming from?
I want you all to stop all this stuff, please.
That's a goon.
Let's focus.
Hey,
Stephen,
do you remember when the Haitians came? What happened to the Haitians? They sent them all back. That was quite interesting. All the Haitians.
That was interesting to you?
What Donald Trump
very
did,
interesting.
And we need to try to secure the border more than we are. Hey, Aguna, guess what? More people have died of fentanyl because of all the crap coming through our southern border.
All right, you guys. I want you to
Lying, you're lying. Hey, there goes. That's the boogeyman. Let's scare ourselves into culture wars, demagoguery, scapegoats. Let's scare everybody.
So I'm going to share.
I'm scared, Stephen. I'm scared. You got me. I'm scared. I'm scared now.
Okay.
So I'm going to share. Excuse me. I'm going to share.
Relax.
Okay, well,
relax.
share it. Share it, Stacey. Don't announce it. You got to stop.
Stephen is doing his temper tantrum
Someone
again.
just made a comment. Someone just made a comment. Okay, excuse me. Someone just made a comment. If you look at the bottom of our screen, someone just made a comment by chat and said woke is such a hackneyed term.
Right. And I didn't come up with woke. They did.
Ooh, they did.
I didn't come up with woke.
Okay. Why are you using it? But why are you using it? Are you that influenced by them?
We are going nowhere.
We're going nowhere, and I'm bored.
Tonight, COVID infections are climbing coast to coast, and it's not just the number of cases. Hospitalizations in parts of the country are starting to tick up too. The CDC now urging residents in 56 high-risk counties to mask up. 2/3 of those areas are in the state of New York.
I'm not here to stand here and say we're looking at shutdowns. I've said I'm going to protect the health of New Yorkers.
Nationally, caseloads are only a fraction of what we saw in the winter. The New York City's recent numbers rival last year's Delta surge. Still, the upward trend isn't stopping the season's most watched formal events, from fashion's biggest night at the Met to the weekend's White House Correspondents' Dinner. Notably absent was America's top doc, who backpedaled earlier comments when he said we're out of the pandemic phase.
That does not mean that the pandemic is over. By no means is it over.
A possible sign of the future, South Africa, where Omicron first popped up. Research there, which has not yet been peer-reviewed, shows new subvariants are dodging antibodies gained from previous infection.
It's not going to disappear. We're going to have to learn to live with this virus as we do with influenza.
So what's important to know about the cases we're seeing right now and the severity?
The cases we're seeing now are not severe. For the most part, if you're still unvaccinated, you could get a severe case.
A mutating virus blurring the path to normalcy. Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
Wow. Looks
Okay,
like
Cousin Todd.
looks
Let's
like
start
Dr.
with
Fauci
you.
Here goes the BS. Here goes the BS. Be careful.
So, Cousin Todd, let's start with you. The Omicron subvariant, according to CNN.com, there's no denying the numbers, even with the spotty reporting. COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations are rising again in the United States. Cases are trending up in most states and have increased by more than 50% compared with the previous week in Washington, Mississippi, Georgia, Maine, Hawaii, South Dakota, Nevada, and Montana. In New York, more than a quarter of the state's population is in a county with high COVID-19 community levels, where the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends indoor masking. We have to live with this, but as we have to live with this, we also have to try to protect ourselves and others. How do we do that without the mandates?
Well, that's going to be difficult because you have people like Keith and Stephen that think it's just a Democratic hoax. And they're not thinking about the people who have children under 5 years old, or elderly parents, or people with autoimmune diseases or immune suppression. So they're just thinking about themselves. And so this is why they get all in a huff about these mask mandates. Oh, we don't have to wear a mask if I don't want to. Yeah, you do, because you're helping your fellow man. And they come up with silly nonsense like Keith. Oh, it'll take your breath away if you'll kill your brain cells if you wear a mask. Meanwhile, surgeons wear masks daily. Are they killing off their brain cells?
For 8 hours a day, all day. Anyway, I would have to
Nobody
say that
wears masks all day.
you gotta don't
Nobody
lie.
does
You
that.
can't sit up there and
Hospitals,
lie.
actually,
Come on, man.
in
You don't know what you're
hospitals,
talking about. You don't live in Los Angeles. But
in
I want to say,
Why are
hospitals,
you
I
so
you
want to
have to
say
angry? Why
wear
are
that
a
you so
mask.
angry? What's wrong with you?
One at a
no,
Calm
time.
down.
One at a
Calm
time.
you don't live
down.
in Los
Calm down.
Angeles.
Take
You
it
don't
down.
live in Los Angeles, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But I would say, just like when you said the pandemic is over, you and Todd, and you just heard the tape, and Fauci and all the rest of them are saying it's still on. We got to live with it. So who is speaking the BS right now? That's all I want to say.
Okay, Stephen.
Well, if it's still on and it's still a problem, they have hospitalizations, then what is it, Title 42 or whatever on the southern border should stay the way it is, because it's such a horrible thing, and we should deport these people and test them, and we should test them for everything. We shouldn't let people just run crazily into this country like they have if we really care about people's health. But you don't care about people's health. You know, we keep going like this, and in the next 10 years, if we keep on this path, we might get 1 billion people in this country. Y'all want that? Is this what y'all want? Did you want 1 billion people invading your country? Because it's an invasion right now. So we should all be together and solidarity and say we do not want the invasion of our country through our southern border, because that's all it is. This is not good for any of us. It's not good for blacks, Hispanics, whites, anybody that's here. Can we not have a border? Every country has a border. No country lets this happen to themselves if they want to remain a country.
Okay. Thank you.
Y'all are celebrating your own demise.
All right. Let me bring Cousin Todd and Aguna in.
Oh, I was on mute.
You were on mute the whole time.
Of course we are. Of course we are. We got to hear the
why would you
wackos.
start
We
muting
got to hear the
all of a
yahoos and the
sudden,
wackos.
You can't hear the truth when you run your
Why
mouth.
would you start muting all of a sudden to let these crazy people spew this crap?
It's good. Hey, look,
This is the
we got
thing.
to show the listeners what we're dealing with. Listen to
Okay,
what they're dealing with. They want to scare you. They want you to
that's
be
right.
scared in your home.
But wait,
We
before
want
you,
somebody's out there coming to get your
that's right.
culture. Somebody's coming to
Wait a
get your
minute.
gun.
You
Somebody's
want us
coming to
to be
get
That's
you.
right.
scared. That's
They're
that's
Aguna,
what we're
let
We're
me,
not
saying. That's
let
what
me,
scared. We're not scared,
okay,
Stephen.
you
Stacy,
want
I
us
need the
to be
mute button
scared.
again.
See, Keith,
Try
Stephen and
that.
you
Keith,
lie. What they
we
do.
are not scared. You
You're
can't
right,
Why
scare us with
doesn't
Stephen.
all that
Stacy mute?
foolishness.
You're right,
Stacy,
Stephen. They do lie. You're right about Aguna.
Stacy's crazy. I think Stacy's now drinking the Kool-Aid, the Trump Kool-Aid. Yay. Now listen, this is what I was saying. Stephen, if you don't like it here, go back to where you came from. We don't feel like we're being invaded. We welcome all. Bring us your huddled masses, remember? So we don't feel like we're being invaded. And for you to use that word invaded, that tells me there's something else at play there. The dark web is working. So if you don't like it, go back to where you came from. Somewhere in Europe or some third world country, as you call it.
All right. We're running out of time, so this is our round table. We're going to have to close out with this.
The integrity of the Supreme Court has been compromised. What was a standout institution has been betrayed for political reasons. And here's the story. A draft of an abortion ruling has been leaked to Politico. It shows 5 justices voted to repeal Roe v. Wade. The opinion was written by Justice Samuel Alito. It would return the regulation of abortion to the states. Supreme Court leaks like this are unknown in recent history. Whoever did this was trying to undermine the ruling, no doubt hoping that the revelation would produce an intense backlash, forcing the justices to change their mind, or at least giving the Democrats an issue for November's elections. That amounts to the deliberate undermining of the Supreme Court for political reasons. The FBI will investigate. We do need to find out who did it and why. How will justices trust each other in the future? They all risk being ratted on. Imagine using that expression for the Supreme Court, ratted on. This leaked draft is not the final version. Drafts are regularly passed around, commented on, and amended. This leak is an attempt to preempt that process. Whoever did this has attacked the Supreme Court, attacked the independence of the judiciary, and attacked America.
Okay, we're just going to start our roundtable. We're going to start with Keith, then Stephen, then Aguna, then Cousin Todd. This is the roundtable. So,
I
Keith,
think it's quite
response.
obvious. It's quite obvious what's going on. I mean, you see all those people out there before they even make a decision. I mean, well, they just go. They respond based on a draft, and the media, which are in bed with those liberal left elitist politicians, are going out and now influencing public opinion, and they haven't even made the decision yet. So that tells you what's going on in this country.
Yeah.
And this
It's
has
like
been going
January
on.
6th. It's
And
like
yet
January 6th all over again.
they complain about January 6th insurrection. Yet this is not considered an insurrection because they try to change the opinions of the court
No, ma'am.
with public
An
opinion.
insurrection
So
is a
I would also
takeover of
say
they were
government.
certifying the vote. They were certifying the vote.
The judge was
justices were
correct.
certifying the vote.
The judges were correct. And Alito is the one who wrote the opinion. I thought it was a great opinion, but we can't talk about it. We don't have the time. But it's really interesting.
Yes, we can. We have the time. Go ahead, talk about
They
it.
said that they don't have the authority. Remember, the authority rests in the states, and that's the Constitution, not in the federal courts.
Yep,
that's
true.
where the authority rests. Let the people influence their state.
For the past
California,
50 years,
and
it has been the law of the land.
In the last 50 years, it's been wrong. The last 50 years has been a violation of the right of the unborn.
Yep.
And so I would say that here we are today. Just bring your illegal aliens, bring everybody to California. And that's just bring them all over here. You can have the abortions here. You can have illegal aliens here. They can all live in safety and security. So there you go.
Great. Hey, you
Okay,
should move now.
thank you, Stephen.
Wonderful.
You should
Stephen.
move now, Keith.
Yeah.
Stephen, it's your turn.
What do you have a question, Stacey?
Well,
It's a round table.
it's a round table. I can give you a question if you like.
All right, give me a question.
But that was about the Supreme Court. Did you have a comment about
Right.
that or no?
Well, I think the person who put it out is the epitome of the left and what the left will do. They'll do something that's never ever been done before.
We're not talking about who put it out.
Well,
we're talking about
why are you
the
looking? It's like a
opinion.
witch hunt.
You want to bet? You want to bet a bag of marbles?
They wanna find
It's a
somebody.
leftist that did it, and they're doing this on purpose. It's never been done before because the left is desperate, and the left is anybody who is for the abortion of children, and you're going to go out and fight and kill people because you believe in the abortion of children. You're the one who's not in your right mind. You're the one who's not on the right side. Today, God's happy, and if you're not happy, you're on the opposite side of God. God created all of these people that are being aborted. So I think it's a great thing. It goes back to the states. It's a constitution that we all have the privilege of living under here. I mean, under the Constitution, we all live here. There's people trying to get to this country to live here like this. I want them to do it legally, like so many other people have done. Like all of our people did it legally. Don't do it illegally. And if you want to read a good book, read this book. And make up your own decision how you think about it. Form your own decision, make up your own mind, read this book. It's about Bill Gates, Big Pharma, and the global war under democracy with public health. This is a guy that's a Democrat, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's a Democrat, and he is from royalty. This not Donald Trump Jr. didn't write this. It was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Read this book and find out what's really going on in the country and who you told us to support and who to believe. Because this guy's been lying to people since the mid-'80s, and it started with AIDS.
You gotta give the wackos time to talk.
Make your own mind
Okay.
up.
All right. Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
homework for the
Stephen.
week.
Thank you. Aguna.
Yeah. So again, I appreciate you, Stacey, giving the wackos time to talk. I know for some reason the governor of Florida wants to censor, but we don't censor on this show. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, the Supreme Court doesn't make laws. They can rule how they want to, but at the end of the day, it's up to Congress to make laws, right? So their ruling actually, in a nutshell, really doesn't matter if Congress is doing their job and they pass laws. So what they're doing is they're pushing it back to the states. If Congress wants to pass a law to say that, abortion is legal, whatever, that's in Congress's purview to do. Now, I will say this. Nobody in this country is pro-abortion. No one wants abortion. Abortions are things that people have to make under some of the most extreme circumstances. And it's people's rights to choose. I'm not for government coming in there and giving some type of ruling over people's ability to choose, whether I agree with the decision or not. So I'm like, look, let the state, I'm not necessarily saying the states to decide. I do think the federal government, Congress needs to do their job. It shouldn't be going to the Supreme Court to grant laws or to pass laws. It should be part of Congress. And if Congress comes together and we're in a representative government and they decide to put language together that rules on abortion, so be it. But that's why elections matter. That's why people need to vote. And that's why we have this representative democracy that we are living in. Elections matter. And this is why they matter, because you have things like this. And there are certain circumstances, and each abortion, I think, is a case-by-case basis. I personally don't agree with them. But at the same time, I know that if the mother is under some health or there's some threatening of health, there's certain circumstances that government needs to stay out of it and it be between the family, the doctor, and their guide. And that's on them. So again, you can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and say on one opinion, there's free speech, freedom of choice, life, liberty, and happiness. And the other hand say, we need to tell these people what to do or how to think or how to live when I don't agree with it. I think that's hypocrisy at its best. But at the end of the day, let Congress do their job. If you don't agree with the Supreme Court, Congress needs to fix it. And that's what basically the ruling is saying, is that we don't have the authority to make laws. Push it down to the states, push it down to Congress to decide.
Thank you. Cousin Todd.
This is 50 years of precedence. This started because of a psycho named Donald Trump got in office. And Mitch McConnell did everything he could to make sure he stacked the court. Remember, he said, we will not give a hearing to anybody during an election year. Then he said, we will give a hearing to a Supreme Court justice during an election year. As a matter of fact, 1 month before the election. What in the world was that? And so he said, that's how Gorsuch got on. That's how this little girl, Amy Comey Barrett, that's how she got on, ill-equipped, and said she wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade until she got up there. Anyway, it was all planned. And this is the thing. Why are white men so interested in women's vaginas? White men hate women. They can't stand them. They never like them. I tell you how bad they hate them.
Stephen loves everybody.
Them so bad till they would allow a slave to be able to vote before a white girl. Did you hear me? I said they would rather a black boy slave vote before a white woman. That means their mother, their sister, their wife, their children, they can't stand women. So they let the black vote before them. Now, if that don't tell you they can't stand them, I don't know what it'll tell you. Now, move further, and they don't even want women to get paid as much as men for doing the same job as a man. Huh? They can't stand women. You heard me. Now, they don't care if you're raped, incest, they don't care what. You're going to have this baby. That's to get their numbers up because they know they're losing out now. And the colors are taking over. So white men hate women, always have, always will. Poor thing. And then these women go right along with them. I don't get it. So now they're all in. Now they're not going to give you more welfare because you can't afford this baby. Oh no, you having the baby and then you're on your own. Kill the baby for all they care, but you're going to have that baby.
So we had a comment. Thank you, Cousin Todd. On our chat, we had a comment from House Call on YouTube that said, leave women's bodies alone.
Good. That's right.
Yeah, it's about control.
So they can make a
It's about control.
Well, remember that when you tell them to put on a mask or get a vaccination. Remember that, okay?
You don't even want to do that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is
you
how
don't even want to do that. That's not a point. That's a grievance.
Right, Stephen? Woman's body. How about the little woman that's inside that woman's body? Well, why don't we leave her body alone instead of tearing it up?
It's just all about grievance. All about grievance.
It's all about saving the most.
It's all about culture wars and grievance and complaining.
Trying to save.
All right.
Can we solve a problem for a change? Solve a problem with me, Stephen. Solve a problem. Don't complain so much.
They don't care about babies. They don't care about.
They don't care about babies. They don't care about life.
They don't care.
All right. To our first responders in our community, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To our women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose to on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker.
He is not the independent thinker. He's the dark web thinker.
I love everybody.
And my cousin Todd. And somebody said, is he really your cousin? Yeah, he's really my cousin.
We're all cousins. We're all cousins, Stacy.
We're all cousins. We'll see you live next week, 7:30. Be there, be square. I really don't like this music, but hey. Good night.
Read a book. Keith and Stephen, read a book. Get educated.